Hey ladies and gentlemen, Stephen here from Redolessence and welcome back to another video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate your time and your viewership. It means a lot to me. And in today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at a classic fragrance by the company Creed. This one surprisingly came out in 1992, and this one is called Erolfa, so make sure to stay tuned. Before I begin my fragrance review of Erolfa by Creed, I do want to mention that if you are a fan of fragrance-related content, if you like fragrance reviews here on YouTube, but also top 10 videos, giveaways, unboxings, special guests, and more, please do consider supporting this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. And of course, while you're at it, please be sure to enable notifications by clicking on the bell icon. This way, whenever I do put out these videos, they will get delivered straight to your feed. You never need to worry about missing any of my future uploads. I also want to mention that if you are interested in either sampling this fragrance or picking up a bottle for yourself, there is a really good price of this fragrance available at maxaroma.com. I'm going to leave all of the information down below if you are interested in checking them out. So again, this goes back to 1992, not nearly as old as Green Irish Tweed, which actually came out in 1985, but they are composed by the same perfumer, which is Olivier Creed, and he is 6th generation family from the company. Now, the name Erolfa, ER stands for Erwin, OL stands for Olivia, and FA stands for Fabian. And this was inspired by a trip that the Creed family took, and it's a very bright, zesty, fruity, lemony, bergamot, and melon type of a fragrance. There are also some aquatic tendencies in there as well. I know there's ambergris being used in the base, and it's one of those ingredients that a lot of people say kind of evoke that Creed DNA that is found in so many of their fragrances. And sure enough, I was able to kind of compare this one to Millésime Impérial, which came out right around the same time, but separate by a few years. In any case, I'm really excited to tell you my thoughts on Erolfa by Creed. Let's start things off with the presentation. So as soon as this fragrance opens up, you are going to get that ambergris DNA that is found in a lot of Creed fragrances. And if you've smelled Millésime Impérial, you're going to get something in here that smells very similar. So it opens up very bright, very citrusy, very zesty. It has that atmospheric quality about it. It's very oceanic as well. And this is a fragrance, of course, that I originally smelled for the first time back in like 2011, long after it was released, but I do have many years of experience with this fragrance. And the one thing that I've noticed about this fragrance is that it goes in a fruity direction, and that's the means of contrast between this fragrance and Millésime Impérial. But Millésime Impérial also kind of has like this pseudo-fruity vibe, because a lot of people say they smell watermelon in Millésime Impérial. As a matter of fact, many people often refer to it as the salted watermelon fragrance, and this one actually does have melon. Millésime Impérial doesn't, but this one actually does have melon. I'm not sure if it's guava or cantaloupe, and or honeydew. I'm not really sure what the type of melon being used is, but it does have a touch of sweetness which is coming from that. When you give the fragrance a chance to dry down, you are going to get this earthy component that starts to come out. And I'm picking up on a little bit of oak moss, not much patchouli, not much fir, not much of anything else that would probably put it in the vein of like one of these 80s powerhouse fragrances. But I am certainly picking up on a little bit of oak moss just to kind of give it that gentle masculinity in the base, but it's not overshadowing the ambergris at all. I really find that that salty nuance in the ambergris, or the ambroxan, if you will, that is used in the base is really the star player of this composition. Now, in terms of the citrus that's in here, it's pretty resolute, and so I find that it lasts a very long time. Unlike a lot of other citrus-based fragrances where the citrus is basically only there for the first 15 or 20 minutes, this one is actually perceived well into the hour. And so I get a very long-lasting citrus from this fragrance, but I think a lot of that is also trickery in the sense that there's a freshness occupying the heart and the base. And so a lot of that is probably giving the user or the smeller the impression that the citrus is lingering when in fact it has eventually died out. But now you're smelling another equally fresh aspect of the fragrance's evolution. All in all, I think this is incredibly easy to wear, easy to pull off. I think this would make the ideal office fragrance. Of course, this is one that in my opinion can be worn all year round. So if you consider Millésime Imperial like a summertime type of a fragrance and you're looking for something just a little bit heavier that can be worn in the fall and winter, I think this one is a really great fragrance to pass the baton to. And then of course, once spring rolls around, you can go back to wearing Millésime Imperial. But what I find is a lot of Creed fragrances definitely lean in the direction of fresh. So whether we're talking about this one, or even Tabarome is a very fresh take on tobacco. Not one of my favorites, but I do find that Creed has put out a lot of fresh fragrances. Aventus Cologne probably being one of the more recent ones. And of course, some people might say Viking is a little bit on the fresh side as well on account of its use of the note of mint. But I do find that when you're looking for the freshest fragrance, and if you are not talking about something like vetiver geranium or Asian green tea, this one is definitely one of the freshest offerings from the House of Creed. Very easy to wear, very easy to pull off, and it has a high compliment factor as well. Let's go ahead and finish things off with my overall assessment. So first up, in terms of the uniqueness and the overall smell, I actually do find this fragrance to be very unique. I know some people might compare it to Millésime Imperial, but I think that that's inevitable because it does borrow a similar DNA that is found in other Creed fragrances. And I think a lot of us know that Creed loves to utilize that ambergris in the base, whether we're talking about Millésime Imperial. I'm pretty confident Aventus has ambergris in it as well. And so it does follow an established structure or format, if you will, but this is probably the freshest one of them all, with the only fragrance really giving it a run for its money being Millésime Imperial. Cidre Blanc is kind of on the fresh side as well, and I know they have a lot of others in the, I think, I forget the name of the collection, I think Acqua Essenziale, but they have a lot of really fresh offerings, and that's something that is synonymous with Creed fragrances. Longevity on this one was about 6 to 7 hours, so it's not the greatest longevity. The citrus is long lasting, but the fragrance as a whole is not the longest lasting composition that I've tried from Creed. I get really good longevity from Original Santal. I get really good longevity from Royal Oud, and I also get pretty decent longevity from Viking as well. But this is probably one of the Creed fragrances, in addition to Millésime Imperial, that doesn't last a very long time on skin. Projection is stunning for the first 2 hours of application, and it doesn't start to sit closer to the skin until about that 5.5 hour mark, and right by that 6 or 7 hour mark, it completely disappears. In terms of the versatility, I think as long as you're wearing it indoors in an office environment and a climate controlled environment, you can wear it all year round. And I also find this one to be perfectly unisex, even though it is marketed for men, if I'm not mistaken. And I do find that this is appropriate for somebody who's a little bit more on the youthful side, as well as somebody who's a little bit older, because it has a lot of likable traits and characteristics about it. In terms of the presentation, a really sleek presentation with the bottle that looks like a flask. Obviously, the sprayer, the cap, everything about it looks very elegant, luxurious, and expensive. So my final verdict on this fragrance is, if you're a fan of citrus fragrances, if you like that bright, fresh, oceanic vibe that a lot of fragrances have, you want to smell unique, you want to smell expensive, and you want something that smells very natural and organic, I would definitely recommend checking out Erolfa by Creed. I think this is an excellent under-the-radar type of a fragrance from Creed. I know some people talk about Royal Water as being an under-the-radar fragrance. There are also a few others that people mention when discussing some of the lesser hyped fragrances from the brand, but I think Erolfa really deserves the praise, and I really enjoy it, and I have been getting into it a lot as of late. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining me today. That was my review of Erolfa by Creed. If you own or have tried this fragrance, please let me know what you think. Leave a comment down below. Also, if you are new to this channel and you took something of value from this video, I would really appreciate it if you would support this channel by subscribing to it. All you have to do is click on that red button in the corner. And once again, if you are interested in checking out this fragrance, you may do so at maxaroma.com. All of the information is going to be down below. They have it for a really, really good price. Thanks again for watching. I love you all. We'll see you next time. Bye.